In this video, we are going to look at how we could start fixing this implementation we have already. The very first thing we need to do is we need to define a struct that will have everything about the token. Remember, we said we're going to have an access token now, and we're going to have a refresh token from the previous video. So right now we're going to define a struct, right? We'll call that struct token details. Now this struct is going to have information about the tokens we are going to be creating and be using in our application. So the first one is access token. Okay, we'll call it access token. Is of type string. The next one is refresh token. Refresh token is also a string. We'll also have the access UUID. Remember, we also mentioned that we'll be using UUID for each of the tokens, right? Sorry, this is string. We're going to have refresh UUID, like so, which is also of types. I can't type today, I don't know why. Okay, so that's about it. And also we'll have the expires, the access token. When the access token will expire is of type in64. And we'll also have this is supposed to be access token. Let's just copy this real quick and say access token. Okay, yeah, access token expire. This is correct. So this will now be refresh token expires, right? So AT access token, RT refresh token. So we are now going to alter the way we implemented the create token function. We're going to alter it this way. We're going to say, okay, we're going to say td that is token details is initialize the struct here defined above, and then we're now going to modify we're going to add the time now, define the time outside here. I'm going to say the access token expires, the time for access token expiration is this. I consider it pretty neat, just taking it from up and putting it here. The same for the refresh token, but before that let's define the UUID. Let's also define the UUID here, so it will be of type. I'm going to use a package that will help me do that. I'm going to show you how you could install the package shortly. So we're going to say v4 dot string. So this is the UUID we're using for this. By the way, this UUID we are using is from this package. You could see github.com twing UUID. You can install it using go get this, right? Okay, that's about the UUID installation. So that's what we're using here. Then the next thing we're going to do, let's just copy this real quick and have the same implementation for refresh token. So this is for refresh token. Now we'll change this to RT. We'll change this access to refresh UUID. Cool. Alright, so we have access token and refresh. Normally the refresh token should expire after a week, that is after 7 days. So we're going to say time R. This should be 24, that is 24 hours times 7, which is a week. So what this means is after a week of inactivity from a user, the user will need to relog in just after a week, not really after 15 minutes, right? I hope you got me. So that's about the access and the refresh tokens and their UUIDs. So let's go further to modify the implementation here. Now we're going to create two sets of token. The first one here, we're going to modify the at claims. It will be td dot access, right? Access expires. Yes, access expires. Then every other implementation here remains the same, right? Yes, it remains the same. Alright, so we can just copy this here and do the same for our refresh token. So here we're going to modify this to refresh. Can't type today. Refresh secrets. Copy this and put it here. So this can be an entire gibberish, can be anything you want. So here we're going to say RT. Okay, we're going to pass in the user ID still, but here it's going to be rot.expires, that is after a week. Cool. Right now it's going to be td.access token, right? Okay, I'm going to remove this because this variable, this has been declared in the struct, right? So we're going to declare an error variable here instead. So I'm going to say var error of type error. Cool. Then the next thing we're going to do is we'll change this also to td dot refresh token, right? So we're going to remove this, no new variable. So this is rot. Where else needs to be changed? Here should be rot. Okay, I think we're good. So what's the issue? Unused variable, and this should be rot. This should be rot. Okay, we have the access token definition, and we also have, let me just take this to look pretty neat. So you could see, let's comment this also, create access token. So this one will be create refresh. Let's use caps, refresh token. So this is create access token and create refresh token. So we are having both the access and the refresh token wire. Before we continue, let us pass in the access and the refresh UID here to the claims. So we'll say claims and pass in the key called access UID, and the value will be what, token details, then the access UID. Let's also do the same for the refresh token. Here you can come here and paste that and say rot, then the refresh, this will be refresh UID. So we need to pass in the access UID and the refresh UID to the claims. So let's change this to refresh UID. Then the next thing we need to do is we're going to return the struct, that is this td here. First of all, check if there's an error in doing any of such. Copy this and do it for the first one. If there's an error creating the access token, we should return. If there's an error creating the refresh token, we should also return. Then if there is no error, we should return the struct. Remember what the struct holds. We also need to change our return value here. Here we are returning the string. It will now be we are returning the struct, so we are returning token details, right? So it will be a pointer to token details. So if there is an error, we can return new here, right? So we can also return new here if there is an error. Okay, so right now we have the create token function all wired up. We're going to initialize redis and possibly wire up a function that will help us save token metadata to redis. We need to install the redis package, right? I've gone ahead to do that myself. You could see I've imported it here. It's called github.com/redisgo, rather, the version 7 of it. So you can go ahead if you don't have it already in your machine. But take note, before you do all this, you should have redis installed in your local machine. You can Google how to install redis. Once redis is installed on your local machine, that's when you can now run this. You can now do something like this. Go get, let me shut down this server. You can do go get this. Before you do this, make sure you have redis already installed on your local machine. Alright, so having done that, the next thing we're going to do is let us now initialize the redis client. We're going to do it like this. Still here we have this. Could also do client. All right, redis dot client. So we have redis initialize for us this way. You could see we didn't, this one we assigned, there's a difference between this and this. This is we are assigning this to the value of this to this, but this one we are saying this client is of type redis client. I don't know if you get me. So that's about it. So now let's initialize redis here. We're going to say func init. Now the init function tends to run before any other function is run in our application. It gets to run before, for instance, this init function runs before, runs before this one, before the create token function. So once we run main.go, this is the first function that runs before other functions are executed. So to initialize Redis, we're going to use DNS. Okay, the Redis DNS. Let's call it os.get. We're going to check if we have anything in our environmental variable. For a production grade application, you should probably have your Redis set up in an environmental variable. The information about the port and the host of Redis should be in your environmental variable. So we're going to check if this is present, or if it is not, if the length of this is equal to 0. I should probably change this to this, right? Okay, so change this to this, right? So if the length of this is equal to 0, we are going to fall back using a local connection like this. I'm going to say this is equal to localhost. This is the default port of Redis in your computer. The port is 6363, I think 79. Yeah, so this is the default Redis connection in your computer. So when we connect, we are now going to initialize using client client equal to Redis dot new client, creating a new client from this. So it will be on the address of Redis dot options, passing the options we want. Okay, this option have details about the password and other stuff. Right now we are concerned about the address of our connection. So say address, which is this we've defined above. So this is only what we need. The next thing we're going to do now is we're going to check if Redis is successfully connected. Using this, we're going to ping the Redis DB using this. We're going to ping it this way and check if there is an error. So if there is no error, it means our Redis connected successfully. Alright, so we're going to panic with the error. So let's run this application. If everything runs smoothly, it means all implementation works as expected. So we're going to say go run main.go. Okay, let me take this up so that you can see my terminal. Okay, while waiting for it to connect, you could see that we don't have any error. So our application is listening at port 8080. Okay, it means that Redis successfully connected. Take note that once we run the main.go, this function is automatically called. So since there was no error, it means we are connecting to our Redis. For instance, I could say else. Let's print something to the console. So say this is, or let's say Redis connected, right? So let's run this again. You see this printed out for us. So we're running this. You could see here Redis connected, so everything works as expected. So in the next tutorial, we're going to look at our login again, our login function, and create a helper that will help us save the metadata to the Redis client, to the Redis DB rather, when a token is created. We initialize Redis here and make sure we are connected to Redis. So in the very next tutorial, we're going to look at how we could use Redis to save our token metadata when a user logs in. So thank you, and see you in the next tutorial.